In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in black and white emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on the canvas of America. Tonight, we have a very special guest. We've got Mr. Alex Dumas tonight. Alex Dumas works with leaders of color to build unshakable confidence to maximize their professional potential. Renowned for his leadership, communication, and community building expertise, Alex Dumas has empowered hundreds of BIPOC business owners to authentically amplify their voices. Alex delivers transformational content that resonates with leaders at all levels as a keynote speaker, international best-selling author, and sought-after expert voice for conference, podcasts, and publications. Your audience will walk away with a shift in perspective and actionable strategies for communicating effectively, embodying inclusion, and having fun to achieve long-term personal and organizational success. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you all to Mr. Alex Dumas. Hello, sir.
Hey, great evening, Charles. Great to see you again. Thank you for welcoming me back to the show. It was great to have another conversation with you.
Yes, sir. It's good to have you back. Is there anything you'd like to add to your bio?
Oh my goodness, you did a great job of reading it off, and yeah, the unshakable confidence, all that. Working with leaders of color, Black, Indigenous people of color, BIPOC as the short acronym. Yeah, I'm ready to dive into this conversation, man. Nothing to add.
Well, let's hop right into it, and let's get to what you do as a speaker. Can you tell us what inspired you to start your journey as a speaker?
My goodness, yeah, that's a great question. So I'll take you back with me a little over. It's gonna be now almost 11 years. No, 9 years. Sorry, excuse me. Where I come from New York. I was born, raised in New York, grew up in Long Island, and at the time of 2016, I'm working this job, and their focus is working with professional speakers, digital marketers, professional coaches as a service for collecting payments, right? So my job is to prospect these different individuals, sell accounts, but also got an opportunity to go to different conferences. And I was just starting to get it, kind of get my feet wet into like the personal development space, like from a couple of years before that. So it was becoming more interested and more relevant for me. And I remember this is November 2016. I go to this conference to sponsor on behalf of the company, and during downtime, people go into the room, they're listening to the speakers. So I go to the back of the room, I'm seeing them, and this speaker has a 3-day event. They're making this 5-figure offer for a year-long program from the stage, and I see people going crazy, like, oh my goodness, yeah. I'm like, wow, that's pretty amazing. Fast forward a month later, Charles, December, I'm in Florida now. This event had taken place in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm in Florida for a different event, sponsoring again, doing my thing. And I see that same speaker, and rather than having 3 days, they had 1 hour. And in that 1 hour, I see them do the same pitch. They say the same thing. They have the same offering. And I see people going crazy again. I'm like, oh, light bulb. There's something to it. Like that month before, it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't just like good luck, wishy-washy. It was like, oh, there's a system to this. There's a process. And from that moment on, I said to myself, I got to learn how to do that. And not necessarily for the money or anything like that. I mean, that's great too. But being able to mobilize people, being able to move people to make a powerful decision for themselves. And I thought to myself, wow, if I learn that craft, I could do a lot of great things in the world. So that's really what started this journey. And it really wasn't until about 2022 where I had my first opportunity to create an event and speak from the stage, MC, do these different things where that that spark turned back on. Because I don't know if you ever had this moment, Charles, where you see something you want, you see a possibility, and you talk yourself out of it. I talked myself out of it for 6 years, from 2016 to 2022, until I was essentially thrust into this moment. And then the microphone in my hand, the lights on me, I'm sweating underneath the suit, but I felt home. I felt like, wow, this is something. This is what I've been missing, and I want to do more of it.
Oh, wow. So I'm assuming that means that you're just naturally what, a people person, and you just connect naturally with people. So this was like right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, yeah. For me, I'm a complicated person. I do connect easy with people, and anybody who's read my story in a different book called "The Journey of Riches: The Power of Self-Discovery" that came out last year, I shared a little bit more of my personal narrative where I didn't feel connected to people growing up early on. I felt like an outsider. I felt as if I didn't fit in. I felt as if I had to put on a mask. I call it being consumed in a costume. That this is just Alex. This is how he is. This is how it's always going to be. And I lived my life that way. So on one end, yeah, it's easy for me. It's natural for me to connect with people and be engaged and be interested in them. And also feeling almost like, well, who am I to do this, right? Some people call this that imposter syndrome. I don't think of it as a syndrome. I just think of it as I'm not sure I fit in. I think I feel more as an outsider, and but that actually served me, right? Because it
Right.
afforded me time to do a lot of reflection inside, to be introspective, but still be interested in other people.
Oh, wow. So how would you describe your speaking style, and what do you hope to convey to your audience?
Yeah, my speaking style is definitely interactive and dynamic. Anybody, I joke with the crowd from time to time, and I say, like, "Hey, has anybody ever heard me speak before?" All right, buckle up because this is going to be a dialogue, not a monologue. And I'm not interested in a lecture or beating over the head with information. I'm interested in the transformation. I'm interested in those individuals in the crowd, the audience, walking away with tangible tools and having a powerful experience of the things I talk about. The book behind me, that's the same name as my keynote. So speak up, stand out, and it's really that opportunity to do what I say, right? Build that unshakable confidence so people can amplify their impact and influence. So I'm in the crowd. I'm active. I'm sweating. It looks like I played basketball. I look crazy. And I see people like, "Where'd you come from?" Like, I came from the stage. I'm pouring. I'm dripping wet. But like, I love it because I want the audience to be as excited as I am about it, and not just because it's me and I'm speaking, but I really want them to walk out and think to themselves, "Wow, I've changed. I came in one way and I'm leaving another way." And then to work with associations or professional societies. Now we look at, hey, how do we make this last, right? Let's just not make it a rah rah, like feel good, woohoo. Like, let's now look at the long lasting change. And I think that's where I've been able to have that nice harmony of like excitement and enthusiasm pouring into people, and then the long term building. And that is what excites me about speaking. That's what excites me about the work I do.
Now, our platform, we target the underserved and marginalized communities.
Yeah.
So, what are some pointers or some things you could give them so they could understand, especially if there's some that want to become speakers like you are, and
Yeah.
learn some things, or maybe some things that they probably want to get to a point to where they can actually try to make it a whole lot better of a career for themselves?
Yeah, for anyone who's out there looking to be a speaker, I would start here with this basic premise, this foundation that your story matters and your voice matters. And it's important for me because, like I shared before, growing up, I didn't feel like my voice mattered. I felt invisible. I didn't feel as if I had value to add as my authentic self. I always had to kind of put on a face or put on a persona to get accepted or for people to like me. But it's through those experiences. I didn't want them as a kid. I didn't want to feel like that growing up. but it served me because that foundation allowed me to connect with people and serve in a different way. So whatever your story is, whatever your background is, I would encourage that speaker to take some time with that, to slow down for a moment and really examine what are those key pieces, like what are those chunks of time, right? You can look at from 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, whatever your age range is. And what are those one or two major experiences in your life that have shaped who you are? Who are the mentors in your life? Who are the guides? Who are the people who believed in you when you didn't even believe in yourself? And I've can ramble on and on about the people who have shown up and served me and empowered me. But for an up and coming speaker, I would say get a hold of that story, but also recognize how do I use that story to connect with the people that I'm speaking with? Because as I did often at the start, it's about me. It's about me pouring my life story onto you. And no offense to myself and to you as speakers, nobody cares. You want to know how is this going to help me? So if you can lock down that compelling story and also tap into useful, tangible, um, compelling things for that audience, I think you're on a way to a successful career.
Oh, well, I thank you for that because I'm more than sure that there are an enormous amount of people that probably have those stories that you're talking about, but don't know how to get those stories out. They don't know how to engage people in a way to really make that happen. But that was really good advice, and I'm sure that most will take that advice and use it as best as they can.
Yeah, and can I just add one more thing to that, if you
Yes,
don't
sir.
mind? For you emerging speaker, you up and coming speaker, I would advise you to not get into the game of comparing. Oh my goodness! Well, this person climbed Mount Everest, or this person came from a drug-infected, gang-affiliated background. Mom was on crack, daddy's not here. I'm a suburban guy, right? I grew up in Long Island, middle class, father, mother, rest her soul, older brothers, older sister. I'm the youngest of four. They saved the best for last. But my story is going to be
Right
way
now.
different from anybody else's. My perspective, even though there may be similar backgrounds, there might be some overlap. But your story is your story. Nobody has lived what you've lived. Nobody has done the training you've done. Nobody has the experiences that you have. So you get to own that and not be embarrassed by, well, I'm sorry that I'm not. No, nobody cares about you being sorry. You show up on a stage, you have a microphone in your hand, whether it's virtual or in person, you show up powerful as you are, and you do your best to serve the people in front of you.
Mm. Oh, wow. Can you share a memorable speaking engagement that had a significant impact on you?
As me as a speaker or me as an attendee, just to be clear.
Um, Either.
Either. Well, I mean, I did share the one from 2016, but kind of fast forward into 2022, where I had my first opportunity to MC and speak. So to back that up a little bit, once again, I wrote about it. It's in the book, A Journey of Riches, Power of Self-Discovery. So anybody who's looking, who wants to learn more about my journey and things like that, you can find it. You can go on the QR code here and you'll be able to find that information. But I'll take you back to 2021, November 2021. Myself and three other coaches, we had signed up for a 6-month coaching cohort that was set to start in January 2022, right? So in January to June, we were going to work with this coach. This is the largest investment I had made in myself up to this point. So I'm freaking out. I'm scrambling, trying to create the money. Nothing's really working. And we come up with an idea to launch a one-day event. We're going to use that event, the proceeds from that, to pay for this coaching. Smart idea, right? So we get to work, we're doing this thing, but we're starting to struggle. We're coming up against time. We have Thanksgiving, we got Christmas, we got New Year's. So some people say it's a holiday. I call it a hollow month because people just check out. Nobody buys anything during that time of year, right? That's the logic I'm thinking of. But the coach that we worked with, he allowed us to step into a new possibility, Charles. He said, you know what, rather than paying me this coaching fee, I want you to raise the same amount of money. I want you to sell the tickets, do all the things you're going to do. But instead of paying me, you're going to give it to charity. You're going to give it away. You're going to donate it to nonprofit organizations. And that took a lot of pressure off because I didn't say this verbally, but my energy was coming from a place of, Charles, can you help me? Please, I have my beggar's bowl, like more porridge, because I'm in over my head with this coaching fee and I have no idea what we're going to do. And I'm thinking about time, I'm stressing out. And fast forward, we managed to put this event together in 73 days, almost 300 people in a room in Phoenix, Arizona. And I build that all up because what I thought was impossible, what I thought was there's no way. If I had came to you, Charles, and said, hey, in 73 days, you're going to put 300 people in a room, you're going to have live stream of an event to thousands of people, you're going to donate thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to charities, you'd be like, Alex, you're crazy. There's no way that can happen. That's impossible. You don't have a background in events. You don't know anything about hotel blocks. Right? You can go through all the logic of why this will not work. But when you get committed to something, when you get a desire that's burning that you can't shut off, right? When you get into a zone and you have people around you and you rally with you and enroll them into a big possibility, miracles happen. And that day from the stage, like I mentioned, that was the first time I felt home. And then it really opened up my mind to seeing like, wow, I can really do anything. Like this was not supposed to happen. I'm not supposed to be up here in front of these other entrepreneurs, right? People who are earning 6-7 figures. I'm not supposed to be up here with them, but I belong up here. I created my way to be here. So to answer your question, that's the most memorable for me because of everything that took behind the scenes to make it happen, and then just the event itself, and then the ripple effect that occurred as a result of it. So I can go long-winded about that, but that moment, that experience for me was, it's something that if I have a rafter, or if I have an arena in my mind, that's going up in the rafters, right? That's going to get retired. That's going to be my jersey up there of being able to do something like that.
So that's the one that goes in the documentary, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. But Netflix, if you're watching HBO or Max now, you call yourselves, call me, hit me up. Like we got to talk about it.
Yes, sir. What topics do you feel most passionate about when addressing your audience?
Leadership development. I think that leadership is everything. I think that, my experience coming from the nonprofit space, I worked with special needs individuals for close to a decade, disaster recovery, sales and marketing, and everywhere where I've been able to thrive, and especially as a coach, as a speaker and an author, leadership has been that difference, has been that separator. And it had me thinking, going back to this experience I just mentioned in January, what was that difference? What was the difference between me coming from an energy place of begging people and just help me, and that real needy scarcity energy, versus I'm here to serve, I'm here to deliver something powerful, I'm here to be productive, is leadership. And part of my workshops, the keynotes, is about amplifying our voice, and that stands for a couple of different things for us as people of color, and even other individuals who attend my talks, just about valuing your voice, right? So that's the V part of it. Owning your story, coming back to your story matters, your voice matters. Ignoring that inner critic, because we all have that thing inside of us that says, you want to do, but who are you to do that? Right? You can't do that. You can't build that. You can't create that. You want to start a podcast? You want to go on stages? You want to be? Who are you? Don't you know where you come from? So you got to ignore that. We have to build those tools. The C part about like communicating with courage, right? Just being able to be bold and say, I want what I want, and then go after it and make it happen. And then just empowering others with intentionality, making sure that we are lifting others up. Because let's just put it this way, nothing great gets built alone. We have this false narrative in America where we are self-made. Nobody made, right? I didn't make this microphone that's in front of me. I didn't make the camera that I'm speaking to. I didn't build the computer. Someone else had to do this. So we all need each other to some degree. Whether we are conscious or aware of that or not, we all need each other, and we have to find the ways to empower each other and lift each other up, because when I win, you win. Everybody wins, including me.
You said something that was really key, and I just wish I want you to go a little bit more in depth with this for us. When you mentioned leadership, because leadership is where it is. That means the most. That's the most important thing that I think, as of today, that people need to know about leadership and why leadership is important. Can you give us a little bit more as to what made that so impactful for you as being a key to the things that you like to speak to your audience about?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would just see these different breadcrumbs in my life, and I know I'm going to beat the dead horse. The event back in 2022 was that real eye opener for me of, wow, this is what happens when you have strong leadership, you have a vision that's clear, you have somebody who is determined to make it happen no matter what, and then they're able to enroll other people in this dream. And I use that word enroll because there's that distinction between power and force, and we're seeing it right now in our current administration. When there's force, there will be resistance. When you lead with power, when you empower others, people want to rally with you. People want to be a part of that. People want to attach their name to, hey, what's Charles doing? He's got a podcast going. He's got an event. You know, I'm gonna be. They want to be a part of that. When I've been what I call a follower in life, when I've been disgruntled, when I've been frustrated, when I've been angry, boy, those fingers, Charles, man, he's wrong. Man, you believe what she's doing? Man, they don't understand. They don't get me. Nobody's listening. And I forgot about like where it starts, where it ends. So when I'm able to take ownership of what I do, how I respond, what I create, okay, that takes a lot of pressure off of me looking for what's wrong with everybody else. Now I get to look for, wow, this person's really great at this skill. I wonder if they can help me here, right? It's not manipulation. It's not scheming, but it's really looking at how can I allow this person to bring their best self and support me, and actually this uplift them too. They have purpose. They have value. You know, let me ask you this: have you ever been at a job where you've been like, what is this manager doing? What is the supervisor doing?
Oh, let me tell you something. On the highest level, most definitely.
Right? So what's that difference between that manager, that supervisor, that leader, that CEO? That you're like, they have no idea what they're doing. Where are we going? Versus the one that you're excited to be around. You want to spend more time with them. You want to learn from them. You want to really be immersed in their world. I got that opportunity going back to that job that I mentioned back in 2016. That the CEO, the founder of that organization, one of the best I've ever had a chance to work with, because he really took his time to understand the customer. He took his time to explain to me, hey, this is how we need to talk to them. And not about, hey, you need to do this, you're wrong. He's like, hey, let's look at the psychology of this. Let's look at what you're saying and how they're hearing it. I've never had anybody say that to me before. It's usually been, all right, well, check. You didn't do this. You messed this up, and you screwed up here, and now you're gonna get a 90-day action plan or whatever like that. Yeah. It was more of, okay, he's talking to me like a human because he values humans. When we value each other, when we recognize the unique and innovative gifts we have, I think that's what leadership is at its highest, because that's influential. And like John C. Maxwell says, right? Leadership is influence. And we've seen on both spectrums what it's like when a leader influences with force versus leading with empowerment.
So, and just in speaking, about that, and just how those things actually flow. Can you tell us, like at that moment and up to this point right now, how do you see yourself as a speaker? When you look in the mirror, are you looking at that superstar? Are you still on the rise? Where are you on that spectrum?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say I'm on the rise, but I also can see that picture of like, man, I'm going to have stadiums of 80,000, 100,000 people on my words, right? I think back to Les Brown, and this is probably one of the, he's the godfather. He's the, like, to me personally, he's the best speaker I've ever seen, heard. And his famous speech, right? You got to be hungry. That's something that moves, that mobilizes, right? If I say that, most people, at least in this self-help transformational space, they know what that is. They know. I could probably recite his speech better than he can at this point, because he's born on the abandoned floor, and Liberty City and the Twins, and right. Anyway, I when I watch that video and I go back to it often, I always picture myself like, man, what would it be like? What would be possible if I could speak in front of 10,000, 20,000, 30,000? I'm at a couple hundred right now, which is nothing to sneeze at. I'm not downplaying. I'm not like, oh, this sucks. No, like, I get to speak in front of 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. That's amazing for me. So I feel like I'm somebody who's on the rise, who continues to get better every time I'm on the stage. And I think of it like athletics. I'm like, every time I get in the ring, I come from a boxing background. Wow, I come out better. Every time I train, I get better. Every time I practice, I get better. So every podcast, every speech, every conversation is just me preparing to get better. And that's the path.
So, how do you prepare for speaking engagements, both mentally and physically?
That's a great question. I'm in the middle of that right now as I prepare for a couple of the virtual engagements. I have a couple of in-person ones. And what I like to do, this is going to be the thing that most speakers don't want to do. They don't want to hear it. So for anybody who's emerging right now, this is the time to do this. Put one finger in your ear and let what I say go in, but don't let it go out. Right? Let it stay in you. Let it saute. So one, practice. Whether you're in Toastmasters, whether you are a part of a mastermind, if you have other speakers that you can run your lines through, and even just practicing by yourself. And when I say practice, it's not just simply, I have a sheet of paper here. All right, like, no. Get dressed. Dressed in the shoes you're gonna wear, dressed in the outfit you're gonna wear, get in your power stance, really go through the motions. Don't let the stage be the first time that you say the words the way you're gonna say them, right? Because your voice is gonna crack maybe that day. Your heart's gonna pound a little faster. You're gonna speak a little faster than you planned for. The excitement. As a professional, you think about it like this. Right now, we're speaking. The NBA Finals is happening. So SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, he's the MVP of the league. Do you think that he shows up on game day taking shots for the first time? Or do you think he's taken hundreds, if not thousands, of shots in between games? When he gets to the stadium, they have a thing called pregame. He's taking shots. He's running. He's rehearsing in his mind. All right, this is when I'm going to get to my spot. I'm going to get this mid-range right here. My three's right here. I'm going to do it. Like, he's rehearsing it so that it's not the first time. It's reflexive at this point. And he can actually be present with the audience. I'm talking about him in the game, but as a speaker, I can be present with the audience. I can hear when that person is going on their phone, when they're starting to drift off. Okay, now I got to get them back. So practice is that first thing as far as the mental thing. Physically, practicing your breath, right? If you're not a runner or if you don't like exercise, I advise you go on elliptical, stay your lines. I got this tip from Outkast many years ago when there was I think the show was Behind the Music. So for anybody, I'm aging myself now. People like Behind the Music, like yes, there was this thing called VH1. They had shows like this, and I remember Andre 3000 talking about how him and Big Boy would run around their neighborhood rapping their lines. And I thought, like, oh, that's silly. Like, that's kind of silly. But then I thought about it. They're performers. If you're, they're on a stage, let's just say 100 to 150 times a year, maybe even 200. So you need a lot of stamina. This isn't just like, all right, I'm gonna just say a few words. Like I told you, I get engaged with people. I get energetic. I get moving. So it takes a bit of that physical toll. So I have to prepare myself, whether that's weight training, strength training, cardiovascular exercise. I love doing that already. I come from an athletic background, so That's already just part of who I am. So I
Mhm.
like to do those things so that my body feels good. I feel confident on the stage. I don't feel like, oh man, here we go, like I'm frumpy. It's like, no, I'm showing up here like, okay, they know. Like as soon as they see that first step on the stage, you know, oh, this guy's coming. He's bringing it. He's bringing something. Like
Mhm.
buckle up. That's what I have to say. So I don't think you can ever practice enough and really structuring the talk where you give yourself space. You give yourself opportunity to like, oh, I can pause here. Okay, I can engage with people in this way. I can scale back if I'm running out of time. All right, I know how to like wrap things up. Right, it's just about those repetitions and eventually become masterful at it.
That's an excellent example to give though, because I think from a physical perspective, as you were talking about them running around the neighborhood and so forth,
Yeah.
it's like when you're on the stage and you're a performer, you got to have that stamina so you can continue to get those words out and you still got the song sound strong. So
Yes.
I can imagine, especially if you talk about people like Les Brown, is that when Les is going all across that stage and he's like doing the stuff that he's doing, that voice is still the same.
Right. Right. The voice is a muscle. If I stopped, if I Right, if I just do curls with like my left arm, oh, like I'm gonna walk around like Johnny Bravo or whatever, like Arnold, just built, swole, and then like this little puny like scrawny arm, like that looks crazy. Like I have a voice, I have to train it. I have to train it to project. I have to train it to amplify, and that's not easy. I got, I can look back at old footage and like I'm just tight. Like I have no breath control. I'm not realizing how to breathe through my diaphragm, how to give myself space to get the thought out, come back, and then deliver again, and keep doing that and keep the energy level going. I think of it like as if I'm a conductor, right? If
Mhm.
you've been to a symphony or orchestra, right?
Yes.
We have bum, 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 right? You have to find a way to allow the audience to come with you like in waves. It's like, all right, I'm going to bring you high here. I'm going to close out strong and boom. And in the middle, I need to bring you down low. I need to relax you, slow you down. And then we're going to go back up. And it's all about that vocal variety. And a lot of that I've been fortunate enough to train at in Toastmasters. I love that as a great platform to just practice. Podcasts are another great way to practice because it's like a comedian for me. I'm working on my bit, on my material. It's giving me news. It's like, oh, I didn't say it that way before. Okay, taking a mental note. All right, this is how I say it now. Okay, and you're just taking all these pieces. It's a fun game. It's so much to learn, and to kind of go back to your question about where do I see myself. I think I'm always going to see myself as an emergent person because there's always something to learn. There's always some little tool, little tweak I can make that's going to help me improve and connect better with my audience.
So, what do you think is the most crucial skill for a successful speaker?
No, I heard this earlier today, and then I'm going to borrow it from this video training. I've been yapping about it on social media. So if you follow me on LinkedIn or Facebook, you're going to see me like rambling on about it. But this speaker, her name is Jane Atkinson and Chris West. They did this video training about brand stories, and she kicked this off with these two important things. One, belief in yourself as a speaker, and that might sound hokey, like I gotta believe in myself. Like, what does that even mean? Believe in your story, believe in that you have value to add to an audience, and then consistency. Right? There's plenty of people that I'm sure you've seen on social media. Hey, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, right? We're gonna go back even 5 years ago when this crazy thing happened that shut the world down. All right, I'm a coach now. Well, now if you look at it, where are they? Are they still in the game? Are they still on
Right.
the field? And that's not to knock them. That's not to criticize and condemn. But I'm just saying, when you're committed, you don't fade out. You don't flame out. I'm committed to this, and that means I have to look bad while getting better, right? And I say look bad, but not be as like amazing as I think I am. If I am like, oh, I stumbled here, I fumbled that. Oh, why did I say this? I could have. Right? You're gonna have to go through those moments of being embarrassed, of feeling like you just humiliated, like, oh my goodness, like I suck today. But you get better from that. You get back up, you get back in the ring, you get back on the field. So believing in yourself and your message, right? Your story matters, your voice matters, and then the consistency. Are you showing up and doing the things every day? Are you practicing every day? Are you doing outreach to land speaking engagements? Are you thinking like a professional? Because at the end of the day, if you're thinking like an amateur, if you're thinking of somebody like, well, this is something nice to do, words change lives. Words matter. Words move people into action. And I take that seriously. I don't take myself too seriously, but I take the craft of this serious because I know what it's done for me. Hearing somebody speak, hearing ET, what up, what up, what up, right? Hearing these kind of individuals that move. Like, man, I want to do that. I want to learn how to do that. I want to be able to help people in that capacity. So it's my job to prepare like a professional, believing in my message and showing up consistently.
I like that. I think for what you were speaking of earlier, in this last moment here, as you were speaking, those people that have dissipated, they caught on with the trend and they went out
Yeah,
like a fad.
yeah,
So, I mean, it's like they weren't in it for the long haul. They were in it to gain.
yeah,
So the gain was what it was, but it's no longer for them because they have nothing else to add.
right.
And see, I think what makes that such a difference compared to people that actually do speak the truth and speak the motivation is that when you have that life evolving, everlasting story that you have to get, that you can continuously to get out to people in so many different ways, in so many different sectors and forums, it's like that's what makes people excited and accepting and wanting to hear more and more of that because that's more than just motivational. It's things that actually feed the mind, feeds the soul, and it makes people inspired to want to continue to do the things that they know that they can do. So that's what good speakers like yourself, bring to the table that say, hey, I ain't going nowhere for a long time. So I'll be here.
Yeah, like I'm gonna keep showing up, right? You can knock me down, you can beat me down, you can criticize me, condemn me, complain about me. I'm still gonna be here, right? I think hopefully most of your audience has heard about this guy David Goggins at this point, right? Ex Navy SEAL, ultra marathon athlete, and he's a hardcore dude. He's he's one of those. He's one of those people that's just like he's an outlier. Like, okay, what is this guy? Like, he's from another planet, but he says a lot of things that I resonate with. About I'm just gonna keep coming after my dream.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna keep going after my dream until the dream, until my body, whatever, realize like I'm not messing around anymore. Like I'm really here. So you're gonna give me what I want. I'm gonna bend the universe to my will because I'm that committed. And commitment rocks the world. Commitment is what changes everything. When you mentioned these speakers, entrepreneurs who kind of rode the wave, they rode the trend, they came in for the money grab, and I'm not knocking it. I understand, I get it, but it's also disservice to a profession, to an industry that has revolutionized my life. So when I see things like that, it does frustrate me, but I also recognize like, okay, that's one more off the list. That's one more person I'm running through. And I'm a competitive guy, so I always bring the athlete mind to. It's like I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the one that stays on the path, and you're going to have to kill me to get me out. That's the only way out.
So tell us, how do you engage audiences with diverse backgrounds and perspectives?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things I love to do is just simply engage with them. I'm One of the things I love to do with event planners is spend a lot of time with them. And I think it's something that speakers can do a bit more of, because I want to get a better understanding of the audience, their challenges, where they're at, where, what's relevant for them, so that my speech, although it is a standard keynote, it is a standard breakout session, but I can customize some things. I can tailor it to them and make it relevant for them, and they appreciate that. I spoke for a project management group last month in May. I don't come from a project management background, so what do I do? What do project managers go through? What are the different challenges? I was asking the event organizer, like, hey, 2 or 3 questions, like, hey, what would make this time with me most useful? Like, what do they want to walk away with? And someone could hear it back, wow, that's really basic. Well, there's not rocket science to this. Rocket science to this. What do people want? And then give it to them and over deliver that, and they will love you forever. And I was able to do that and speak their language. I was speaking about scope creep. I don't know what that word is. I didn't know what that word meant over a month ago, but I got versed in it. I got versed in stakeholder challenges. I got versed in these different areas. And they were like, oh, like, our language. I know who you are. So back to this premise, words matter. I want to create not only just a speech and experience, but I'm creating a relationship. Think about this, Charles. I'm married now it's going to be 16 years in January, coming up. Imagine if I approached my wife the first day, like, you know what, I like you, we're going to get married, and I just never talked to her again. I didn't get her number. I don't even know her name. It's like, yeah, I'm going to marry you one day. She's like, you're crazy. What do you mean? You're not going to marry me today? Like, no, that took time. That took me investing, being interested in her, sharing with her, being open, being vulnerable in different areas, and building a relationship. And like I said, we've been together, married 16 years, going to be married. We're going to be together for 20 years coming up in January. That doesn't just happen because, well, I hope that this thing works out. No, I have to make a commitment and invest my time, my energy, my intention into this. So for you speakers, if you are not doing that, if you're not spending what I call time, energy, and attention with these audiences and learning who they are, then what are you doing? Is it for you? Is it for your ego? Look how great I am. But does that get you paid? Does that get you referred? Does it get you more checks? Does that get you more opportunities? That's the question you have to ask yourself.
So let's transition over to your work as an author.
Oh, yeah.
And so, first of all, tell us what motivated you to become an author, and how did you begin that journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for anyone who's watching or listening, my name is Alex Dumas. I'm named after the author Alexandre Dumas, so it's kind of in my blood to do this, right? I come from that lineage. Oh, what happened here? All right, are we still on?
Yes.
Sorry, my screen went black for a second, so I was like, oh no. Okay. Yeah, so I come from that lineage of that author. I've always loved to write. I've always loved writing poetry. I'm a hip hop fan, so I love writing raps. That was going to be my profession as a teenager. That's what I was thinking. I'm going to be a famous rapper, so I would write all the time. And it didn't happen. So for spoiler alert, but I get to use a microphone in a different way now. So writing has just been something I've always been interested in. And last year, 2024, I was approached by this individual to contribute to an anthology book. And he enrolled me into this possibility. Like, hey, this is kind of low stakes. You'll invest into this, and we're going to do this for you, and we're going to support you this way. And I thought, all right, I think it's time. I think it's time that I have something worth sharing. I think I'm in a place where I am prepared to share my message in this way, and being someone who leads different communities and works with different people of color. Well, wouldn't it make sense that I practice what I preach? I talk about amplifying your voice. I talk about speaking up and standing out. I talk about being the person that has a message that goes global. Well, where's my message? All right, time to write it. And that was an interesting experience. And I chose to write my chapter from my personal narrative space. So really my life story in essentially 5,000 words. And I was fortunate enough that the publisher, the editor was like, wow, this is so good. We're going to use your chapter to be the first one. Like, I was like, oh my God, like that's a little bit of pressure because, for a book, most people, you read the first chapter, it either makes it or break it, for lack of a better word. Like, all right, this sucks. Throw this book away. We're not reading it. I'm not going to download it. We were able to, the book was published in August last year, 2024, became a #1 bestseller in different countries, amazing reviews on Amazon. And the big portion of that, the thing that anchored it in for me was the proceeds that we use that were generated from Amazon went to an orphanage in Bali, Indonesia, and we were able to support the construction of a new roof for one of their homes. So I share all that because with your words, thinking about the bigger picture, I call it building a bigger bubble of impact, of influence. Who are your words going to help? Who are your words going to reach that you don't even know yet? And the writing process was an interesting one for me because I'm going through my life story, reopening some old wounds, but also recognizing, okay, I can either speak from this place being a wound, or I can speak from it being a scar, healed, lessons learned, and hopefully empower somebody else who is either having similar feelings or experiences to know that they're not alone, that their story matters and their voices matter.
Well, this question, I'm sure, is going to get a lot of attention from the audience, because tell us about your latest book and the themes it explores.
Yeah, so this book that's behind me, I don't know what shoulder it is, Speak Up, Stand Out, is Starter Guide for Building Unshakable Confidence to Amplify Your Impact and Influence. This is a book that's only available when you see me speak. Right? I made a short ebook, and the reason I did it that way, as opposed to the published work, the previous book that I forgot to mention is called The Journey of Riches, The Power of Self-Discovery. So myself and 10 other authors contributed to this anthology book, and you can find that on Amazon, or go on that QR code and look there. But Speak Up, Stand Out is a complement to my signature talk, and the purpose of that is really looking at these 3 different areas of one's own self-worth, one's intentions or commitments, and then one's network. And with those 3 themes, layers, I designed it to be simply questions, right? There's a little blurb, there's a little something here and there, but then the book is mainly questions, because as I think about my life, as I thought about my keynote, as I thought about these different experiences about leadership, what was that separator, Charles? The questions that I'm asking myself, the questions that I'm asking others. And I believe that the quality of my life is impacted by the quality of questions I'm asking myself. So let's rewind time for a second. BC, before coaching, before the development, before speaking, the questions I used to ask myself were, why is life like this, Charles? Why can't I have that? Why does this always happen to me? Why is it right? These aren't bad questions, but there's no strength in it. There's nowhere for me to go because I'm just stuck in sauteing and like, life sucks. I want more. I can't have more. Why can't I have more? Right? I'm a hamster in my own mind. I'm hitting the rewind button, looking in the past. Why did I say this? And why didn't I do this? And why didn't I do this then? And after coaching, after personal development, after the work on myself, the questions started to look like this. What do I want to create from this situation I'm in? What role did I take in this? Like, where am I taking ownership in this? What's available to me? Who are the people that are available to me? What resources can I draft from? Right now, that gives me a space to go to, a space to come from. Like, you know what? I don't have this, but who do I know that does have that? Right now, that gets me to a space of creation versus I don't have this and I'll never have that. and it sucks I don't have that. I'm mad that Charles has that and I don't have that. I'm angry at you, and I'm descending in my in my frequency of enthusiasm, excitement of creation, when I could have just been thinking about, well, I don't have this, I do want that. What will it take for me to get it? Who do I need to be? What needs to happen? Oh, okay, now I can get a plan from that versus just a dream and a wish.
Now, as I just listened to you, I listened to you talk about accountability.
Yeah.
Wanting to be steadfast, wanting to be that creator to make things happen, but also wanting to stay within you. Can you tell us, in the process of writing this book, how were you able to combine or compile all of that information in order to make it into that book? How did you make that story come to life?
Wow, that's a great question. A lot of it was just spending late nights thinking about it and going on my keyboard and typing. And it kind of goes back to what we spoke about with speaking. How do you get better as a speaker? Well, you speak. You practice speaking. You speak and you keep speaking until you keep getting better. How do I become a better writer? I have to put words on a page. and I share that funny, it's the elementary thing, it's a fundamental thing, but it's those things that most people don't want to do. And bringing it to life, I thought about it in this way. I'm a visual person. I visualize a lot, and I thought to myself, how can I make this like my movie? How can I make my life movie come alive in these pages? And there's some coaching that I received between a speaking coach, between the publisher and editor. They supported me with some different resources, doing my own research, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, and then obviously doing the typing and bringing it to life. I decided to write my chapter in a unique way. I wrote it as if it were a play or a movie. So there's Act 1, and then Act 2 and Act 3, but there's like 7 pieces of it. And kind of going back to what I said, what I recommended earlier for emerging speakers. What are these key moments in your life that have happened that shaped who you are? And for me, it looked like 5 or 6 different pieces. Yeah, when I was a kid, having this experience of feeling invisible, feeling like I didn't belong, feeling like I was a loser and I was an outsider everywhere. Well, how did that impact me? How did that shape me? Well, it made me disconnect from people. It made me resistant. It made me not want to speak up. It made me introverted within myself, but also made me feel like I had to be crazy and wild and do all these crazy things to get attention, but not really be my authentic self. All right, well then, how did I start getting confident? Well, I found my way into sports. I loved football as a kid, playing football and being parts of teams and seeing that I could add value there, right? And then being a teenager and isolated, using this, having substance abuse issues. Mm-hmm. Then coming back up, being my wife, her pouring life into me, then going through life as a professional and still being insecure, trying to find out, what am I going to do? Who am I going to be? My mom passing away 10 years ago. And then becoming a coach and finding my way in the personal development, the transformation space, right? So these roller coasters, these waves, right? This yo-yo of up and down, up and down. But that's what built me. That's what created me. So I spent a lot of time thinking about, well, if I'm took myself out of it. And it's tough to do. Try to remove myself out of it and just read it as an objective. All right, who's this Alex Dumas guy? Okay. Whoa, he went through that. I went through something similar, right? But I'm playing around because it's me. I'm talking to myself in that way, but I wanted to read it from a space of, if I'm a objective reader, will this be interesting and will this be impactful? And I believe I was able to achieve both of those things in that book.
Oh, wow. Now that's impactful. That is what make what you called your life, that movie that you put on the pages, that can actually make it on the screen be as big as you want it to be. because that story in itself is inspirational. Because think about the ups and the downs and the plateaus. You know, I mean, that weighs a lot on a lot of us, especially young black men. It weighs a lot on us. And so it's like, how do I make this happen? Because now you're realizing that you want to do a lot of other things, but being so introverted before because of the things that kind of like shook you as a child, you know, you had to get to that point where like, now I'm about to be this giant.
Yeah.
I got to be this giant.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when you step out on faith and you make it happen and things start to materialize and come to fruition, then it lets you know you've done a lot of good things.
Yeah.
But your truth is going to be, you know, when you decide, if you really decide to do that and you put that on the screen, that is going to be a story that I can guarantee you for people like the audience in which we target. Those are the people that need to see a story like that, because what it tells them is that anybody can do anything they want to do if they put their mind to it.
Yeah, 100%. So if anybody has a connection to Ryan Coogler, you know, Michael B. Jordan, you know, I'm just saying, like, I joke, but you know what? Words matter. I just spoke it out.
Yes, you put
What
it
if?
in the atmosphere.
What if?
You're exactly right. I like that. So how do you balance your time between writing, speaking, and consulting?
You know, for me, it's I merge it in one, right? Because as I speak, it is a piece of that. It is. I'm almost coaching from the stage, because the way that I deliver my presentation is very interactive, where I have the audience go through reflective questions, and part of preparing for the speech is writing. I'm scripting it out, and not that I'm saying that I'm word for word, like this is how it's going to be. Like, you know, if I stumble here or I mess up there, like nobody knows, but nobody knows it but me. But I still have the discipline of writing and making sure if I'm, you know, if I'm using a slide deck, all right, does this make sense? Does this flow? Does this? I go back to the waves, right? It's like, is what I'm conducting, is this part of the symphony? Am I bringing them low here? Right now, I have them here. Am I having them? Am I bringing them to a place? Am I reaching in to them to make them feel it? All right, now I got to bring them back up. All right, we got to lighten it up. We got to bring the energy back. So it's it's a delicate balance, because I'm writing. Not only let me put it this way: it's different writing for people to read versus to hear. And then with coaching, consulting, so much of it is from that client. They're generating it. And it's easier for me actually as a coach, because all I have to do is just be present with them, listen, and hear the possibility that they can't. I just have to find that one distinction, that one thing, like, oh, they missed it here. They're not seeing it. Perfect. Game on. Now I get to be with them in it and create that awareness. But as a speaker, as an author, it's now me generating this. So it's me having the belief and confidence in myself that the story is valuable and is actually something that people would enjoy hearing. And now I just have to sculpt it into a way that is digestible for them. It's easy to understand, it's impactful, and it's also entertaining. And I hate to put it that way, but it is. I want to be entertained. I want to feel good. I want to laugh. I want to maybe even cry a little bit. I want to have these gamut of emotions and walk away like, whoa, this guy just rocked my world. We need to bring him in for this. We need to, right? And it's part of that. But I just think about, all right, who's this going to impact? Who's this going to help? Who's this going to serve? What's that takeaway going to be for them? And not just in their boardroom, but how they are behind closed doors. Are they going to show up that way as a father to their kids, as a husband to their wives, as a wife to their husband and to their kids, right? I'm going to have somebody really walk away with that sense of like, I can do it too. If that guy can do it, and not putting myself down, but like, wow, he figured out a way. He unlocked something inside of himself I can do that too. That's available to me.
Right.
And then that's all I want to do.
So who are your biggest influencers as a writer?
Oh my goodness, as a writer, yeah, that was a great question. And you asked me previously, offline, the book, the autobiography of Malcolm X, written by him, obviously, and Alex Haley, had a tremendous impact on me. I read that. Well, I shouldn't say I read it. My oldest brother, he mushed me with that book when I was about 17 because I was just in a rough space, right? I was just angry at the world. I was just losing. I was just failing in life. I was struggling academically, socially, just being a knucklehead. And he said, you need to read this book. I'm like, I don't want to read it. I'm fighting. I'm like, man, I'm too tough. I don't want to read that book. 17-year-old Alex right now. I'm going back into his space. But I picked it up. I started reading it. And I just devoured that book. And anybody who knows anything about his life, right? This man who was a father, a husband, a leader, an active agent of transformation, empowering Black people.
Mm-hmm.
He was Detroit Red.
Mm-hmm.
He was a hustler, a pimp, drug dealer,
Mm-hmm.
thug, convict.
Mm-hmm.
He turned his life like full 180, like someone who, one chapter in the book is called Satan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of how frustrated he was with religion, with God, how angry he was. And I was in that space too. I'm like, my family, we grew up in the Catholic Church, but I had no relationship with God. I had no relationship with Jesus. I missed me with all that. I went to private Catholic schools from K through 12. So I was done. I was fed up with all of it. I don't want to hear any holiness. But he turned his life around, and that planted the seed. It took years later for me to really embrace it, but it was that seed. I'm like, man, maybe I could do that one day. Maybe. So words matter. Those words in that book. That's all I needed was just like, all right, someone else can do it. Maybe I could, but it took me a while before I believed it. So as a writer, that inspired me to think about my chapter. Like, is there another 17-year-old Alex in the room somewhere? What would have needed to read if it was my life, my words? And I did my best to put that on paper.
As you mentioned that, I think because that version that Alex Haley wrote, which is the original best version of Malcolm X's life, I think they've taken that out of circulation. So those that got that paperback need to thank God and need to make sure they hold on to it. Because I think now to try to get a copy where you may try and order it, it's going to be hard to find.
Oh, that's a shame because that book is, you want to talk about a textbook of transformation, of
yes,
adversity, of growing up in Jim Crow, of his father being murdered at a young age, his mother having mental health issues, family being separated and scattered, and all the things I mentioned of becoming a gangster and a convict, and then transforming his life into a minister. I'll bring you back to this. I remember watching the movie X, back in 1992. So I was 8, 9 years old. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching it with my brothers and my sister. And that was the first movie I didn't say a word. I was completely entranced by this. And then all these years later, I think that probably was the reason why I read the book, because the movie was so powerful for me. Then reading the book, it just, obviously added more context and more layers to what was shared on the screen, and it cemented in for me. But yeah, those words, his life story is, still to this day, it makes a major impact on me. I made sure my daughter read it. When my son's of age, he's 10 years old right now. When I sense it's the right time for him, that's another book that's like, hey, this is kind of a mandatory thing. You got to read this because this is going to help shape you into hopefully a productive and engaging young man.
So let's transition over to your work as a business consultant.
Yeah.
So what led you to become a business consultant, and how did you build your expertise in this area?
Yeah, my expertise in this area came from a decade in a nonprofit space, working with special needs individuals, and this is going to go back to one of the questions you asked me before about, how does an emergent speaker get started, and what is how do they get going? And I talked about all your experiences. It's easy to discount all these things we do, like that little job here. I was just in customer service. I did this little sales thing, right? If we slow down and extract all the gems that we got from it, like, wow, I had to lead people, I had to show compassion, I had to be flexible, adaptable. And wow, I have a lot of experience doing that. I have a lot of experience of pivoting, of thinking on my feet, of of reacting to things, and also responding in a way that could be positive. And I also saw the other side of things, like, well, when I was tired, burnt out here, boy, was I a jerk. Boy, was I a nightmare as a manager. Boy, was I judgmental of people. Boy, was I somebody who was like, well, this person's not working hard enough. We should fire them. We should give them a can. Instead of, well, where are they coming from? Spending time with them, investing and pouring some energy into them. So experiences in that, in disaster recovery, in sales and marketing, in different customer service and program management roles, I've seen all these different spaces where I was the bottom of the barrel, right? Of just kind of being the frontline person, and then being the person who got to make decisions. So seeing the different questions and the lens from both sides of, like, as somebody who's a direct report, well, why are they doing that? This is stupid, right? Right? We're gonna criticize, if you're making like a minimum wage thing, if you're just barely above the line, you're definitely showing up with a different attitude. But if you're somebody who has a little bit of ownership, who has a stake, a vested stake in something, you're showing up different. You have to now be a motivator. You have to be somebody who rallies people around you, coming back to that word of enrollment. So I've used all these different experiences, and then also engaging with that client and getting really clear on what is it that you want, what's going on, where are we at, and having them get clear. Because as soon as they start to speak it out, like, yeah, everything's fine. Well, tell me what fine means. Well, we were able to do this quarter and blah, blah, blah. All right, so what do you want to do next quarter? Well, we want to do this. All right, what's it going to take? And then it's like, well, that was a nice idea. Now we get to create a plan together, because an intention is good, a wish is nice, but now what is the commitment level? What are we going to do about it? How do we build it? And that's where I come in as a coach and as a consultant and help them map out that plan. And once it comes together, once it's like, oh, we did that. We actually did it faster than we thought we would. And we actually made more than we thought we were going to. Yeah. Now, how do we duplicate that process? Right? It's, as an entrepreneur, I think the greatest gift we have for ourselves and our clients is this thing called systems. When we can create systems for ourselves that work, that are effective, we get to lead with that. We get to show up as an example, like, well, you know what? This is how I did this. Not saying it's going to work for you, but let's test it out. Let's try it. Versus, well, Charles, I want to build my business, but I don't know where to start. I want to be a speaker. I don't know where to start. I want to do this. I don't know where to start. Okay. Well, why do you want to do that? We got to tap into the emotional side of it, that real compelling reason, because our reasons are going to be the thing that make us, that's going to be the thing that, when months are low, when people are doubting you, when people are like, "Oh, you still doing that thing?" Right? When you get those questions, you still doing that little thing, that business of yours. You get to have that resolve. Like, no, you don't see it now. I'm here now, but I'm already there. I'm already at that finish line. I just have to walk the steps. I just got to practice and do the work, and the result will be mine. So as a consultant, as a coach, that is the joy for me when a client has that light bulb moment, right? The ahas, you've heard it over and over. It's like when they see it, like, oh my goodness, now I can be it. If I can see it, I can be it. I can live into it.
So what industries do you primarily work with, and what services do you provide?
Yeah, that's a great question. I work primarily with associations, professional societies, service-based organizations. So I'm serving their leaders that are driven, that are deeply committed. Those are two things that are required for me to work with somebody, because I need to make sure that commitment levels at a pretty high place already. Because all I'm doing is just taking a couple of notches up, just a few notches. Doesn't have to be dramatic change. And I've worked with nonprofit associations. I've worked with for-profit places, and the point of that is really being with their leaders, call it the ones who feel like they're unseen, they're unheard, they're unknown. Well, how do we bring your brilliant ideas to the table? Why are we silencing ourselves? Why are we not speaking up in meetings? Why is it when, hey, what do you think about this? You're doing like the T-Rex thing, right? Your alligator arms, you're kind of getting short. You don't want to speak up. You don't want to say what's on your mind. You don't want to bring an idea to the table for fear of being judged and criticized. No. Let's step up and be powerful. Let's step up and create some innovation, some inclusivity. Because when everybody's pulling their ideas together, like we talked about before, we can't do this alone. So I love working with leaders on that aspect, and the results for them are awesome. They get teams that are engaged, which is fun. You get teams, you get to retain your top talent, so that you're not just investing so much in people and then they're leaving and you're like, all right, I got to start over again, and then you don't care anymore, right? We have to look at the organization that gets that innovative leadership. The leader now gets to be someone who gets to be high impact. They get to command the respect and the attention in the room, versus, all right, hopefully nobody notices me. I'm going to hide, and hopefully nobody asks me anything in this board meeting. And, right? It's part of that. So I really focus on them not just becoming like better communicators, but really becoming active agents for global impact, for long-lasting change, and confidence, unshakable confidence, really being their secret weapon for the success.
And so, the last part of the interview here, we do Black History 365, and we're going to go back to where you told me that Malcolm X was the most influential person in your life and your career. So, can you tell us, why do you consider Malcolm X the most influential person in your life and your career?
Yeah, I just see him as somebody who led with such ferocity and love. And I think those two can sometimes be confused. He had a love for Black people. He had a love for us to advance, and had seen, he grew up in a time where that injustice, that oppression was really heavy. And he just did the thing that most people won't do. He did the thing that said, I don't like this and I want to do something about it. Right? I think a lot of us, man, this sucks, this is wrong, and we should do something. He was somebody who said, this is wrong, I am going to do something about it. And he lived that way, and he was willing to die for it. Now, I want to just put a disclaimer. You do not have to die. You don't have to be a martyr for what you believe in. But I respect it, because that's the level of commitment that he had. It's like, this is to the death. And him knowing, or having that sixth sense of like, well, this could potentially cost me my life. But he was still willing to get up on stage and speak. He was still willing to go travel places and speak that cause. And as I mentioned before, that transformation journey from somebody who's just at the bottom of the barrel, if you would look at someone like him, like, well, this guy has no chance. You're Black, you're mixed, you're mulatto, so you're a bit of light skin, you have this reddish complexion, you're a drug dealer, you're a pimp, you're this thug, you're a convict now, you're a felon. You have no chance. You have no chance. There's, like, if you put those odds against most people, they fold. But he pushed back and said, I have a bigger purpose. I have a drive. I have something that is moving me to make a big change, to make an important change, something that's going to impact other people, right? And this kind of goes back into one of my pieces of my keynote about intentions. When our intentions are strong enough, when we have a dream that's big enough, there's really nothing that can stop you at that point. It's now just a matter of the technical things, like how do we do this and who can help me. And but if I have a dream that I want to move people to significant action and change, I'm gonna do it. And I respect him for being able to model that. It doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish.
Now, I'm going to tell you this because that's more than just touching for what you just said. Because and when I say this, so it's by no shape anyway is it close, but there's some similarities. When I built my platform, that's what this platform is for, and primarily, it's because our people need unifying.
Yeah.
And for me, just like Malcolm said, by any means necessary. And I understand exactly what he meant. But for those that didn't understand that speech, they took that the wrong way.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, as we look at today's time, and you think back to when he was Malcolm Little before he became Malcolm X.
Yeah.
You see, that's what a lot of people don't understand. And then think about he came from Nebraska.
Right.
So in thinking about that and knowing that, when his life changed and he actually had vision, he could actually see after getting out of jail. So when he could see, for those that want to believe in repression, they never wanted to give up repression. They never wanted to give up slavery.
Yeah.
But what they forgot is that people evolve. The world evolves. Look at where we are now.
Yeah.
And so when you look at history and it's trying to repeat, that's why there are several different ways or several different things where we've got people doing many things to ensure that does not happen. And I think that, for those that actually look to Malcolm X and know what he stood for, that's okay to say, I love what he stood for, because a lot of people are still afraid to say that. A lot of people are afraid to say that. But you see, that's the problem, is because if you're being silenced and you let yourself be silenced instead of letting yourself be heard, are you really making a difference?
Yeah.
Would he be happy about that?
Yeah. And to your point about that, this is something I had struggled with for some time, because I'm like, well, I'm not a revolutionary. I'm not a Black Panther. I'm not going to be in the streets protesting. I mean, we've done that out here in North Carolina, a few years ago when George Floyd was murdered and we wanted to stand up. But I can do it in my own way, right? I can be a revolutionary by helping someone with their mindset, someone with their resilience. I can help revolutionize how we speak about ourselves, the narratives, the stories that we tell ourselves.
Right.
Charles, before, as a kid, as a young man, I told myself stories that I was inadequate, that I was insignificant. It's hard to be powerful with a story of at such a low place.
Mm-hmm.
Who I am now as a man and where I continue to go to is like I'm an agent for change. I'm somebody who's been for people. If you don't subscribe to faith, that's fine. But I'm like, hey, I've been anointed with this ability, this gift to do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I can't waste it. I've wasted so much time. I wasted the first 20 something years of my life of not recognizing how powerful I was or not seeing it. Now my job is to awaken it in other people, to let them know, like, hey, you got to wake up. You have something to offer the world. coming back to your story matters. Your voice matters. We need to hear it. And it could be a shout and it could be a whisper, but let it be heard. Let somebody know that you have something to say and say it with purpose.
So, in what ways has Malcolm X's philosophy shaped your approach to speaking and writing?
Whew. I think you said those magic words before, by any means necessary. Mm-hmm. Right. And I hear that quote and I think about the resources. What's available to me? How can I deliver this to the masses? I have a daily 3-minute podcast. I have a monthly podcast. I'm doing shows and having conversations with individuals like you. I'm writing these books, and it keeps reaffirming. It keeps anchoring in the bigger purpose for it, right? Because if I think about myself, if I write for myself or I write to just impress me, I'm going to fizzle out. So going back to what we talked about with those speakers or coaches from the pandemic days, right, who kind of fizzle out. There's no foundation, right? There's that text in the good book. Do you build your foundation on sand or do you build it on rock? I choose to be a rock. I choose to be a stand for people. I choose to speak up and stand out. And his life, his story. Yeah, I didn't go to prison. Sorry, people. I didn't get arrested. I didn't get into gunfights. I didn't get stabbed. I didn't have any of these different things. But I also am a young black man in America. I know what that feels like to have that fear of, am I going to make it home today? If I get pulled over, am I in trouble? Am I doing the right things, right? And also have to be conscious of, well, why do I don't deserve to live in fear. I didn't ask for that. I'm blessed to be black. I'm blessed to have the skin. Now I'm in a better space than ancestors 100 years ago. You and I are what they dreamed about. You and I are what they hoped. God, if we could just make it another day, maybe we'll have a chance, right? And that thread of hope. I think about this a lot. Think about this. The institution of slavery started in, let's say, 1619, around there. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to the 1800s, right? Mm-hmm. Civil War, Emancipation Proclamation, Juneteenth, which is coming up. Generations of, there's no signs of this ever going to be different. I was born a slave, I'm going to die a slave. My women are raped, my children are abused, me as a man, I'm emasculated, imprisoned. There's no signs of hope. Like, what was going on in their minds that it would just be easy for them to just lay down and be like, all right, well, we'll just die. But for whatever reason, right, that thing, that spark of, it can get better than this. There's something else beyond this. And I think that the strength and resolve of people to do that, it makes it easy for me to be like, man, I can't complain. I've got air in my lungs. I've got a home I live in that I own. I've got cars. I got every opportunity available to me. What am I going to do with it?
Wow. Can you share a specific quote or idea from Malcolm X that resonates deeply with you?
I mean, we talked about by any means necessary, and for whatever reason, this is kind of it's funny, but it's not funny. In my mind, kind of gets into dark humor. But I think about after President Kennedy was murdered, and he talked about the chickens coming home to roost, right? And he was being cheeky with it, and he was that end of things, but it kind of goes back into like the law of the universe. What comes around goes around. You can push people down, you can oppress them, you can beat them down, but strength, truth, facts, love, it always wins in the end. And we're in an interesting time right now where there's a full-on assault on people of color, and it's not just Black, right? Latino, Asian, like we all are under this assault, this affront. So now what do? The chickens will come home with the roost, and I'm not promoting violence or anything like that. I'm saying, how do we unify and stand within ourselves as a ground of, we're the global majority, right? We're the global majority. We have way more opportunity today than we ever had. What are we going to do with it?
Well, just so you understand this too, just know it's the system that we don't have control of.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah. We
How do you incorporate Malcolm X's values into your business consulting practices?
I think, kind of going back to that word I used, ferocity, and being that person that is just relentless about the difference I want to make, the difference that I'm interested in serving my clients with. And I'm nice, I'm smiling here, but if somebody works with me, they know, like, I come from the athletic background, so I'm going to get in your face a bit in a loving way. And it's never to oppress or never to embarrass or anything like that, but it's really, I see a possibility for you, and I'm not going to allow you to be mediocre. I will not. It is actually it's disrespectful to me to allow somebody to play small, to think small, to shrink, to hide. And when I think about Malcolm X, somebody who is visible, I mean, I can't even imagine what it would have been like if he had social media available to him. Like, what?
Ooh, you talking about on fire for real?
Volcano inferno, right? Just so I bring that kind of intensity to what I do, not because I want to be impressive or anything like that, but because I believe in people so much. I believe in their possibility, and I just want to be that agent for them. I want to be that person that they're pushing uphill. I want to be that person like pushing them in the back, like, oh man, that jolt, that, oh my goodness, we're woken up. We see it. You see it, and we can see it. Now we're going to be it.
And final question for you. What lessons have you learned from Malcolm X that you apply in your everyday life?
I think just being a person of your word, being a person of integrity, that's huge. If you were to, for those who maybe who got a chance to experience them, you watch them on a video or a replay or something like that, or recording, this guy's no nonsense. He's not messing around. You know what he stands for, right? That's not shaking. That's not like, do I feel like empowering Black people today, right? There's not that. There's not that question in him like, do I want to do it? Like, no, that's a full-on commitment. That's a full-on lifelong dedication, and that's something that he gave his life for. I'm not here to give my life for my clients or coaching, but I'm here to make sure that I will do everything in my power to empower somebody.
So as we come to a close, is there some final words of wisdom, encouragement that you'd like to leave with our audience? Tell them how to connect with you on social media, your websites, where to buy your books, any of those things. Would you like to leave?
Sure. So if anybody who wants to connect with me, go to this, I don't know which site it is, whatever, that QR code, scan that. That's going to give you access to the podcast, YouTube channel. I'm most active on LinkedIn, so look up Alex Dumas, AlexDumas. That's me. It's the real deal. My website, Speaker Alex Dumas. If you are someone who is looking for speakers or MCs, if you're looking to hire workshop facilitators, consultants, that's where you find out about my work. That's where I'm active as well. And the last words, I really just leave people is just recognize that your story matters and your voice matters. If you don't amplify your voice, if you don't share who you are and how you can help us, then you're doing us a disservice. You're robbing us of your brilliance. Don't be a grave robber. Don't steal from us. Share. Be bold. Be brilliant. Be amazing. Your story matters. Your voice matters.
Well, I want to thank you once again, Alex, for coming back to the show. This has truly been another great show, one that's more than just impactful, but it's one that's been full of encouragement, inspiration, motivation, helping people to get some sight and to get some understanding of not just where they stand, but where their lives are. And so if they see their lives pretty much at that standstill, they got some information tonight as to they need to start moving and shaking. Because if you're not moving and shaking, you're not doing anything.
Slow progress is better than no progress.
Yes. And, I think that, it's true to say, for those of you that are watching, you just listened to Mr. Dumas, who not only is an original king of this nation, but in being whichever far into his generation that he is standing for the positive change and making a difference in helping folk in order to do the things necessary to be successful. That is what we do as family. That is what we do as people. That is what we do here in America in Black and White. We are about building communities. Alex was talking about building communities, but also in helping people to build those communities. That foundation in itself, as he said, as it's on being on rocks, makes it solid. As long as it's solid, it cannot be broken. So that means for each and every last one of us, we need to get on that solid foundation of unification to build, to learn, to educate, to expand, and to unify and become that people that our forefathers were once standing. Let's get back there, and we can do that. Let's all pull together and let's do the things that we know that we can do, and let's make that difference. For those of you that are watching on the YouTube channel, if you have not yet subscribed, please hit the subscription button and get all the notifications, because you'll be able to watch all the shows when they're about to go live, as well as you're able to go and watch all of the shows that have been previously recorded. You will get, again, more information, and you learn more about the conversations that have been colored on the canvas of America. Because we are about that change, we are about building. Let's do this together. So I look forward to that support if you guys can do that, and I thank you all. So for those of you that have been watching, thank you again for watching. But tomorrow night, we have another great show for you all. Alex, I want to thank you again because this has truly been great. And for those of you that are watching, please tune in tomorrow. Have a great evening, and we will see you tomorrow on America and